My heirloom tomato and basil tart is not only beautiful, it is absolutely delicious. Growing up Italian, we always have tomatoes in the house. My mom used to just slice them up and sprinkle some basil and oregano on them with a drizzle of olive oil. So I was so excited to include these heirloom tomatoes in my tart. That has the perfect crust, so easy to work with. It's perfect for a breakfast, a brunch, even a light dinner. You are just going to love this recipe. And I featured this recipe in my cookbook, My Life in Pies. And it is a fabulous recipe, and I hope you make this at home. So this is my pie crust, and today I'm making a paté brisee. And paté brisee in French just means broken pastry. And it's a classic dough. It's so versatile. You can use it for sweet or savory tarts, pies, quiches. So here I have my flour and my salt. So I've cut the butter in little cubes, and I'm just gonna add it right into the feeding tube. And it's just gonna become just coarse meal. Now for the water, you want it ice cold, but remove the ice before you start pouring it in. And we're gonna use about 1/4 to 1/3 cup of water. Just watch your dough. It's gonna start to come together. All right, let's test it. Oh, perfect. It's coming together nicely. And the beauty is if it's too dry, you just add a little bit more water. And if it's too wet, just add a little bit of flour once you put it on your work surface. I'm gonna go ahead and pulse it a little bit more. And there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it out onto my work surface and see what I'm working with. So with your hands, just knead it together. And it's perfect. And I'll show you how you will know. So I just break off a piece. And when the dough just really forms together nicely, you know that it's perfect. If it's too wet, you'll know because your hands will be wet and you'll want to add a little bit more flour to it. But this one is perfect. So let's roll it into a ball. Flatten it out a little bit, and you can use this right away. Just make sure to roll your dough out and put it in the refrigerator to set up. If you're not going to use it right away, wrap it in some plastic wrap, put it in a freezer bag, and slip it in the refrigerator or put it in the freezer. Okay, my heirloom tomatoes are ready. I'm going to go ahead and take the stem off. These have such delicious flavor and they're so beautiful. I like that they come with a color variation. They've been around since 1951. I'm cutting these in 1/4-inch slices. They are openly pollinated. They're super disease resistant and they last as long as their hybrid cousins. You cannot beat the flavor and they are so beautiful. I'm going to transfer these onto a paper towel lined baking sheet because we want to remove the excess water. And the reason is that we do not want our tart to be soggy. And we want to keep that good concentration of tomato flavor. Look at how beautiful these are. So I'll place a paper towel over the tomato slices and just gently press. We want to remove the excess water. We don't want our crust to be soggy, and we want to be able to have that good tomato flavor without it being watered down. There we go. And then we'll do some teardrop tomatoes. Just cut them in half, long ways. I like to use different colors. Makes the tart look so pretty. When I think about this tart, I think about my Uncle Ralph. He always grew fresh basil and fresh tomatoes in his garden, and he'd stop by and give me a bushel full. They were always so delicious. Okay, and we'll move on to rolling out our dough. I love rolling out a paté brisee. It's such a great dough to work with. I just like to feel it with my hands and make sure that it's cold enough, because you really need to have your butter cold. Sprinkle a little flour on your work surface and on the dough, and you just start rolling. I like to roll from the center out. And when you're making this dough, you want to make sure that your butter is super cold. My favorite way to incorporate the butter is just grating your butter frozen. It works out really great. Just flip it over to press. If it's too cold, the dough, you can use the warmth of your hand to just soften it up a little bit. And if it gets too soft, just put it right back in the fridge. And what's cool is that when the dough goes into the oven, when you've got your crust in the tart pan, what actually happens is as the butter melts, the water in the butter evaporates. And that steam is what's going to create those flaky layers. Just a little flour. You don't want to add too much because it'll make your crust very, very dense, tough. We want a tender crust. And I'm going to roll this out about 12 inches. Sometimes I round out the outside edges a little bit. You see how nice it is to roll this dough out? And if your dough cracks, just pinch it together. It's so forgiving. Let's check and make sure it's not sticking. See that? Just add a little bit more flour. This is rolling out nicely. Perfect. So now I'm going to get my tart pan, and tart pans are essential. They're wonderful because they have removable bottoms. Makes it really easy once your tart is completely baked and cooled to just transfer it out of the pan without breaking the crust. So one of the tricks I like to use is I like to roll my crust right over my rolling pin. It makes for transfer, makes it easier to transfer the dough. So I've sprayed my pan with nonstick cooking spray, and I put a piece of parchment at the bottom. And now I just gently unroll the dough right over the tart pan. And the tart pan is really just going to give you beautiful edges. They're going to be vertical, they're going to be straight, and you're going to get these beautiful fluted edges. And the tart pans are made of metal, which is great for even cooking. Just make sure to gently let the dough fall right down to the bottom of the pan, right along the sides. And remember, your dough is really cold, so it's going to hold up very well as you do this. And then there's a couple different ways to remove the excess dough off. One of the ways is just take your rolling pin and just roll it over the edge. And you see how it just breaks off perfectly? You see that? That's probably my favorite way, and then you can always just touch it up with your fingers. You can use a knife, you can use the scissors. Just roll it right over. And you get a beautiful clean edge. Tarts are just so elegant, and this dough is wonderful. It's a short crust dough, so it'll be a little bit firmer than your typical pie crust. And just think about all that flavor, since really all that's in this recipe is flour, butter, salt, and water. And then with these scraps, you don't have to waste them. You can make some savory cheese twists with the dough, cinnamon sugar cookies. You can make small little quiches or little jam hand pies. Okay, so now we're ready for the pie weights. So just take a piece of parchment, place it right over the your dough and place your pie weights right inside. Just make sure they're nice and even. And what that's gonna do, when this goes in the oven, it's gonna prevent the bottom from getting too puffy. Okay, let's put it in the oven. I've got it set at 350 degrees. Let's bake it for 12 minutes, then we'll pull it out, remove the pie weights, put it back in the oven for another 4 minutes. Okay, time to take the pie weights out. And it's super easy. Just grab the corners of your parchment paper, have a bowl ready, and just put them right in the bowl. And now let's put our crust right back in the oven for another 4 minutes. And for those of us who like to do as many steps as possible ahead of time when we're entertaining, the beauty of this crust is once you've fully baked it, let it completely cool. You can actually freeze this for up to 3 months. Once it's cool, I just wrap it in saran, I wrap it in foil, I put it in a freezer bag and put it safely in the freezer. And then when you need it, you can either leave it in the refrigerator to defrost or right on your countertop. It'll usually defrost within 15 or 30 minutes, and then you're ready to make your tart. Okay, let's saute our finely chopped shallots and garlic. Let's get our heat on medium, add a little bit of olive oil. And this is real quick and easy, just a minute. You just want to saute them until they're translucent. These are going to add a lot of good flavor to the tart. So these are going to add great flavor to our tart. But actually, since we're using a rich, creamy custard, we're actually making a quiche. And all quiches are tarts, but not all tarts are quiches. They look perfect. Let's shut the heat off and let's go on to make the custard. Okay, let's mix all of our ingredients. We've got our eggs, our half and half, our chopped basil, salt. Oh, let's add some oregano. And a pinch of white pepper. Let's give that a whisk. And our custard is ready for our tart. So now for the fun part, we get to layer our tart. So let's start with our sauteed garlic and shallots. Just evenly spread that on the bottom. Perfect. We'll set that aside. Now let's layer our tomatoes. They're so pretty. And then I pepper in my teardrop tomatoes. Okay, let's add half our cheese. And this is a delicious cheese blend of mozzarella and provolone. Okay, let's add our quiche custard. I like to give it a stir. I want to make sure that that basil is evenly distributed in the mixture. And now just gently pour that over the top. Now keep in mind you have a whole nother layer of tomatoes and cheese, so you might not need to use all of this mixture. Let's keep it there. All right, let's add the rest of our cheese, because you can never have too much cheese. Just evenly sprinkle it over the top. Just imagine serving this for breakfast, for brunch, a nice, easy dinner. Because sometimes there's nothing better than having breakfast for dinner. Okay, I usually save some of my prettier slices for the top. So let's go ahead. I like to use different colors because I just think the combination is beautiful. Look at that. Perfect. Let's pepper in those teardrop tomatoes. I've got my oven heated at 350. Okay, let's bake it for 40 minutes. So here's my tomato basil tart, and I can't wait to cut into it. It's always so delicious and it's beautiful. And people ask me, what do I like to serve with it? Well, I like to bring in something acidic. It really balances out the quiche. So of course, champagne's a great beverage. And as far as other sides, usually like a nice fresh green salad with a nice lemon vinaigrette. You can choose a nice green vegetable. My favorites for this would be green beans, asparagus. You can even make it a little richer and serve like a nice soft mozzarella cheese. And remember, I grew up Italian, so let's add some nice Italian cured meats. You can't go wrong. So let's give it a taste. It's rich, it's creamy. The blend of the cheeses just perfect. Because we took out that excess water in the tomatoes taste really super rich and delicious. This is the best quiche you'll ever make.